Man, I got to talk about my favorite Bernie Nelson song. I'd be remiss, and it's not one maybe that everybody knows, and I'm hoping to change that. But it was a Conway Twitty cut that you had, a co-write with the amazing, amazing Dave Gibson, another phenomenal songwriter that more people should know of. I would love to hear or take us into the room as you guys are riding house on Old Lonesome Road.
I lived in Colorado Springs for about 5 years, and a friend of mine lived in Garden of the Gods, and he came to Nashville to hang out for a few days, and he had his luggage, and he actually lived on Old Lonesome Road in Garden of the Gods. And I saw the address on his luggage, and I threw the idea at Dave, and we were over at Alabama's company, Maypop, and we wrote it, and we demoed it. Dave's version of it is just outstanding. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And when you hear Gibson's version of it, you understand why it got cut. But we still don't know how it got to Conway. And originally, Skip Ewing was going to cut it, then Steve Warner was going to cut it. And what we heard was that Warner played it for Conway to show him what a great song it was, and he was going to cut it on his next session. And Conway said, you can't cut it on your next session because I'm cutting it tomorrow night. And Dave and I were at a place having adult beverages, a lot of them. And Billy Joe Walker came in. And Billy Joe Walker he produced Travis Tritt, but he was a session guitar player. And he always wore sunglasses in the middle of the night. And he told us we had the new Conway Twitty single. And we explained to him that we didn't because we didn't know anything about it. But when he told us the title of the song, and what's ironic is the gym I worked with a guy who was a graphic designer for MCA Records. And he said they called him in at 9 o'clock at night to start working on the cover. So he said, you definitely have to go. And to have a Conway Twitty cut, let alone to have Conway Twitty put one of your songs out to radio, it's just off the charts.
And it was the title cut to a record, too. Like, it was,
phenomenal.
Yeah, just unbelievable stuff. I love the song so much. And again, it was a top 40 album for Conway. It might have been his last top 40 album, if I'm not mistaken.
He followed Single Thing in Mind, which went number 2. And then in the middle of our song going up, Billboard changed some reporting issue or something like that. So each label had to drop 2 or 3 artists, and we got dropped. Conway was furious, but we made it to like 16 or 14, something like that. And
that was a single now, right?
Single, yeah. And then of course, after Conway passed, wow, 2 greatest hits albums later, we were 3-4 million in the sales.
Yeah, because I think the song was included on the 3rd greatest hits album for him, right?
And we did a tribute for Conway. I organized it with Harlan Howard and some other big people in Nashville. Anybody who'd had a cut on a single on Conway was on the show. So it was like Troy Seals and Wayne Carson.
Wow.
And Wayne sang And I See the Want to in Your Eyes, and Harlan sang Tight Fitting Jeans, and it was just one of those magical nights. And at the end of the night, his widow, Dee Henry, came up to me and said, before he got on the bus that morning, he grabbed a guitar and played my song for her. And so it was the last song Conway ever played was my song. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, my dad...
go
ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say Conway was my dad's favorite artist, and he had tickets to see Conway when he passed, so he never got to see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just unbelievable loss.
Daddy was just like the song says. Daddy didn't like buying things in credit, so I drove into a Chevy dealership at the end of Music Row one day, and there was this gorgeous truck sitting there, but it didn't have those stickers on the window and stuff. And I wanted to know whose truck it was because I wanted to congratulate the guy for having such a cool truck. It was brand new. And the sales clerk says it belongs to some guy named Bernie Nelson. And I said, well, that's odd. I'm Bernie Nelson. And he said, well, Waylon Merlin Littlefield over at ASCAP said you would like this truck, so he told me to clean it up for you, and he was going to tell you about it tomorrow. So I get this truck, and it's paid for. So I drive it up to Michigan to show it to Daddy. And I drive all the way up almost to Traverse City where they're camping out. And I showed Daddy this truck, and he says, "Well, that's an incredible truck." And finally, he says, "Well, how much are the payments?" Payments. And he said, "Well, how can that be?" And I got all bowed up, and I said, "Dad, your son," and knowing what a big fan of Conway's daddy was, I said, "Daddy, your son has the new Conway Twitty single." Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Okay. So I said, "Daddy, your son's got the new Conway Twitty single." And Dad said, "You ain't gonna lie, how much are the payments?" I said, "Well, they're $380 a month, Dad." And I could never convince him until the song came out on the radio. Then Dad got all pretty excited about that.
That's amazing stuff. But yeah, it's always been one of my favorite Conway Twitty songs, and written by you and the incredible Dave Gibson. I appreciate you telling the story behind that one. It's just a great song.
Well, speaking of Dave Gibson, he hit a home run recently. Did you see that?
I have not.
Well, Dave Gibson's phone blew up a couple weeks ago on a Wednesday night because he had no idea that Toby Keith and Luke Combs have re-recorded Ships That Don't Come In.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
It entered chart at 7.
Okay. Wow, that's incredible stuff.
That's a home.
Yeah, that's
and Ships That Don't Come In. It was his last session ever, and what a powerful moment that was. They put it up on the video of him recording that song on that tribute night. So kudos to Dave, and we're actually writing again for the first time in 20 years, and I'll be back there in October finishing up a couple with him. So.
Oh man, that's exciting to hear. Very exciting.